Hello, welcome back to another 4Color Films video. Today we're going to be talking about the top 7 things I've learned about grading comic books in my year's journey in doing this. It's been, exactly about a year since I started grading books for my own benefit, some to put away, some to sell in some cases. But for the most part, I've been trying to get a hold of a lot of big comic book keys from the Silver Age, from Marvel and DC and Independent. Mostly like first appearances are kind of like the thing I've been going for the most. And so I want to share with you a couple of things I've learned in my journey to get things done and what I found to be the most beneficial. Number 1, always press your books. Can't reiterate this enough. CGC has gotten pretty darn strict about grading, and particularly when it comes to moderns, they're kind of merciless. So a spine tick, fingerprint, anything like that can take away your grade from a 9.8 to a 9.6 or less in a flash, depending on who you get as a grader and what happens to that book. And even things you think may be imperceptible may be there, like a waviness or even like a small bend, or like I say, a fingerprint could show up and you wouldn't even know it. So it's important to press and clean all your books before you send them in. And I would also say, don't use CGC pressing to do it. I do think they do good work, but the wait time adds almost double. It took me about 9 months to get books back from CGC after they pressed it and graded it. Maybe it's gotten better since then. It was kind of last year when everybody was doing it, but at the same time, it was pretty brutal to have to wait that long just to get my books back. When you can send them to a presser and get them back probably within a week or two, and then send off CGC. And it might even be cheaper actually through another third-party presser as well too. So just be advised, always do it. Even when you think it doesn't need it, go ahead and do it anyway. I would say most books could benefit from it. The other thing I've also learned is that pressing doesn't last forever. So once you get it pressed, send it away straight away, because after a certain amount of time, some defects can come back. Like if there's a waviness or there's perhaps some sort of a bend in the actual spine of some sort, not a color breaking one, but one that may have some kind of a curl that can come back after a few weeks of not being pressed anymore. So just be aware that that may also take away from your score. Number 2, always double check your books. Now I paid for this mistake at least twice, maybe 3 times, but my first mistake was not checking the book thoroughly. And in one case, I had a chunk missing from an ad page and didn't even realize that. And so you get the dreaded green label. It's no good. The value can drop from half to 1/3 value, depending on how bad the grade is and what happens on that side. So I've had another book where and a page was completely missing, but I didn't realize it because it was an ad page. It didn't affect the storyline, so I didn't even count it in my count, but it was missing. So just be careful. Check to make sure there's no pages missing, that there are no ads or cutouts in the book, and that there's no big tears as well too is also a good thing to check out as well too, which can also dock your score by quite a bit depending on what it is. Number 3, calculate your value. It's expensive to send things to CGC, and you may not realize how much it costs when it comes down to it, because when you factor in pressing and grading and shipping and insurance in some cases, that book can cost you between 30 to 50 bucks just to get it graded. So if the book you're getting back is only worth 50 bucks, you're not making any money if you sell it. Or even if you keep it, and that's fine, that's your personal decision. Like if you want to keep it, just have it, then no problem. The cost benefit is the same, right? But always calculate the cost, because if you're going to sell your books eventually, you want to make sure you can at least make your money back or profit from it. And if you have a book that's under 50 bucks, it's not going to make you money. Doesn't matter what it is. In the case of bigger books, I always try and go by the rule of, it's not going to come back at 100 plus value, it's not worth doing, or not worth sending to CGC. Even if I really like the book, or unless I really believe in it, then most times I won't send it out unless it comes back at 100 plus value for me. Number 4, 9.8s are worth the value. So particularly when it comes down to it, I know there's always an easier way to pick up a 9.6 or 9.4 and think that's good enough. And in some cases, your budget will only allow that, right? I know I can't afford to buy 9.6 of everything. But when it comes down to it, if you have a choice between picking up a near mint copy of something and it costs a little bit more on eBay or through your seller, then do it. because the value you get back from 9.8 to 9.6 is big. It's sometimes double, or sometimes more than that, depending what it is. I'll show a couple values here for, like, for example, I look at New Mutants 98, the first appearance of Deadpool, and looking at it, it's a heavy lift from 9.8 to 9.6. Same with something new like Young Avengers, which #1, which has gotten pretty big this year. If you look at the value of 9.8, it is twice that of a 9.6. So right now, it's worth the value. There are a lot of people who say that 9.6s may come up at some point, but at this point, the answer is no. 9.8s are still king. Number 5, don't grade everything. I know it's tempting to send out everything that you love and have it come back in a nice shiny shell from your grader, but sometimes some things just aren't worth it, or are not going to be worth it. So I think you have to think about what you really want to have graded in your collection, and if you're going to sell stuff, what's going to sell. And it's difficult when you're chasing trends. There was a lot of people who cited some articles about being very careful about picking spec books, because spec books can really bite you in the butt because it takes so long to get books back. Like, by the time you get books back, it can be 3 to 6 months. And by that time, that plot point or that key may have already crashed. In case of like a movie, it may have come out, it may not have done well, so in which case that book can crash. If it's a character or a moment, that could have happened, and then when it's over, it could also tank on that side. If a spec is for a character that's not even been seen yet, there's a chance that that character could be terrible in that show or movie, in which case that book will also crash. Or in some cases, there's could be a big plot point that happens and then it kind of fizzles out. I think The King in Black was a good example of that, where a lot of books were pretty heavily spec'd for first appearance of Null and The King in Black on that side, and when the storyline was over, it was kind of like, meh, it was okay, right? So the books kind of just went down south pretty quick, and I fell victim to that too. I bought a really nice, got a sketch cover made, and it's probably not worth like the amount of money it cost me to get it graded and signed by the artist. But yeah, again, that's your personal preference, and if you just want to get stuff graded because you love it, then that's fine by me. I get a lot of stuff graded just because I do love the cover or the artist, and that's a personal decision that I make on my side. Number 6 is a pretty specific one, which is something I just noticed the other day, which is that when you get stuff shipped back from CGC, you can pick your method of shipping. It can be USPS, UPS, or FedEx. And I've always gone by UPS because technically, and just like shipping speed wise, it seemed to be the best to me. But what I noticed the other day is that if you look at the insurance is only kicked in if you have an account that you can actually associate with. So most people don't have a professional account, but if you don't have one, you should probably get at least a personal account where you can stipulate the insurance, because if you don't, they're gonna use a default, which is like $100 or something like that, which is not much. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I've heard actually someone today that that may have changed. Now they may be covering full value, which is fine, because that'll be great, because you insure when you put the books into the system, you note what their insured value is, and then you'll get that value back if you're able to prove that, which I think is probably the norm. But to be fair, I've chosen USPS lately because USPS, United States Postal Service, is fully insured. So whatever the value is, no question, if it's lost or destroyed or whatever it is, you get full value back. And so to me, even though it costs a little bit more, it's totally worth it because I don't have a professional account for UPS. So USPS is a way to go for me. And number 7, the final one, is CGC is the king of all graded books, like it or not. There's a lot of competition, CBCS, PGX, a bunch of other ones coming up in the ranks, but for the most part, when it comes to value, CGC is still the king. It's still the most desired slabbing service out there. If you look at the values, like I look up some values for, say, New Mutants 98 again, for example, and I just got the last couple of months in sales on eBay, and a 9.8 of New Mutants 98 is sold for $1,900 or $1,800 all day, but the one CBS one I could find, $1,600. So not a huge difference, but still, like, if you want full value from the books or you expect to sell them, then $300 is actually a pretty big difference on that side. So percentage-wise, I don't know what that is. Someone will do the math for me, but whatever it is, it's significant on that side, right? So, and you know, I mean, it's not always the case. Like, I think some books, if it's like a smaller value, probably are pretty close to the same when it comes to it. And some people don't care. They just, you know, like a 9.8 is a 9.8. But the fact of the matter is that CGC seems to command a bit of a better value from what I've seen in the marketplace going forward. So to me, that's the one I stick with, which is too bad because I do like competition. I wish CBCS was valued equivalently because I would like to have another source to be able to send stuff to, given the nature that CGC has gone up in its price and also in its time to ship stuff to me. I'm not really a big fan of that, so I wish it were true. But for now, it does hold true. Anyways, these have been my top 7 tips I've learned in my grading journey this year so far, and so I hope you found them useful, and let me know if you did. Send me a little comment in this video and subscribe. Please, it helps me a lot with the channel and helps me get some more viewers on that side, and also helps me with maybe getting monetized one day. Who knows? I can always dream. And if not, please always subscribe, because we are going to do a giveaway pretty soon. We're really close to 500 subscribers now, which is awesome. I'd like to give some books back to my viewers. And so if you're one of them, you have a chance to win some of them. So that's coming up real soon. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.